Okay, so your task for today is going to be the GCSE Higher Revision Quiz 1A, and I'm going to do the Quiz B for you. So the questions will follow the same topic, so this will be a probability question for you, this will be a bird maths question for you, this will be a brackets question for you, but with different questions. So what you can do is you can answer the questions yourself, but if you get stuck you can scroll down to the same question that you're on and have a look at how I did my question, and hopefully that helps you with your question. That's the aim of this video. So question 1 is a probability one, and it's an experimental probability. Experimental probability just means kind of the what's actually happened, and then we say that that's a probability, and we can predict into the future and say, well, if it always happens like this, this could happen in the future. So we're looking for the probability of rolling a 1 on this dice. Well, our theoretical probability is what we would expect to happen if we lived in a perfect world, and it would be that one. But that's not our experimental probability. Our experimental probability is what's actually happened. This is what's actually happened. So the amount of times it's happened, so successes over total trials. So we've landed on a 1 68 times and we've tried 150 times. So that would be our experimental probability. Answer B. 68 out of 150, just from them numbers there. Okay, bid maths. Hopefully we remember that. Bid maths, we've got brackets, we've got indices, that's like powers, we've got divide, we've got multiply, we've got addition, and we have subtraction. So we want to deal with it in that order. So we want to do the brackets first in this, so we want to do this first. Within that, we actually want to do this bit first. We want to do the multiply first, and then we want to do the subtraction. So that is going to give us minus 10. So in this bracket, we've got minus 10 squared. And remember, when we times a negative by a negative, that's going to give us a positive. So this would be positive 100. If you type that in your calculator, make sure you do not leave out the brackets. You need the brackets there. So in this case, this one would be 100. Expanding these brackets, so you guys like doing the FOIL method, so I'll do it like that. And it's a bit harder because we've got a negative x there. That makes this harder. So we're going to do x times by 1 gives me x. X times by minus x gives me minus x squared. And then we're going to do minus 2 times 1 gives me minus 2. And then minus 2 times by minus x gives me positive 2x, because I'm doing a minus times a minus. I then need to tidy this up, so I've got minus x squared, x plus 2x, so plus 3x, minus 2. So let's have a look at which one lines up with this. Minus, plus, minus. There we go. A is our correct answer for that one. Okay, next number in the sequence. So let's just see what happens each time. So we're going to add 1. Then we're adding 4. Then we're adding 5. Then we're adding 9. That doesn't particularly seem like much of a pattern to me, because we could see something where we add 1, then add 2, then add 3, then add 4. That's why I looked for that. However, that doesn't seem to be any pattern for me. So I'm going to leave that thought process behind. They don't go up by the same amount each time. But what you might notice is, well, 4 plus 5 equals 9. These two equal to that. How about if we do 5 plus 9? Well, that equals to 14. And how about 9 plus 14? That equals to 23. So the next number is going to be 14 plus 23. And that equals to 37. So that is our next number in the sequence, 37. That's kind of like a Fibonacci sequence where you add the two previous numbers to get the next one. Which operation, this is kind of a weird question with how it's worded, but which operation and with the totals of which columns would you work out an estimate of a mean for? So when we talk about mean in just a list of data, we add up and then we divide kind of like that wording, isn't it? So if I was to ask you that, you'd probably say something where we add them all up and then we divide by how many we added. And in better words, that is going to be the total frequency divided by, think of a better way of saying that. That's going to be, well, we're talking about weight, so this is going to be total weight divided by total people in this case. So what's telling me how many people we have? Well, this column here is telling me how many people we have. If I add up this, 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 4 is 20. So I want to divide by the column 3. So in fact I've already figured it out. And then what I want to do is they've found this midpoint times f, so this is kind of like your fx column, which we'll have spoke about before. And this tells us, that tells us the total weight, because if you imagine 5 people, or 5 things, I'm not sure what we're talking about here, 5 things weigh 250 grams. Well, if we had 5 things that weighed 250 grams, we'd have 1,250 grams total. And if we had 5 things that weigh 350, we'd have 1,750. So we add these up to get the total weight. So I want to do 4 divided by 3. So the answer is going to be D. This is a vectors question, and it's not an easy one. It's a midpointer. And we want to find my, so we want to know, well, how can we get there? Well, we can't go along this path directly, and we can't seem to go along this path. We need to, well, we need to think, well, it's going to be half of the path of z to y. So my equals to half of the path of z to y, and we know that it's because it's a midpoint. That's how we know it's just half of it. So we can find what zy is. Oops. Zy is going to be along here and then along here. So that's going the opposite way to b and the correct way on a. So zy equals to minus b plus a. So then my equals to half of minus b plus a. And we can flip this round in the bracket. So we can say a minus b. And then in that case, well, we know it's going to be C. A bit of substitution. So we want to find S when it's got these values. So S equals to U T, remember this brackets means times in together, plus half of A, and then t squared, so 2 squared. This is going to give me 10. 2 squared is 4. So when I times this together, I'm going to get half of 12. And when I do that, I'm going to get 6. So I'm just doing kind of one step at a time. So 10 plus 6 is 16. I get A. Cafe offers us some of these choices, so 4 starters, 3 mains and 5 puddings. How many different options are there? What we could do is we could kind of make up 4 starters, make up 3 mains, make up 5 puddings and list all the options. But the quick way of doing this, multiply the amount of options. So I want to do 4 times 3 times 5, and if you do go ahead and list them all, you'll see that this works out and you might be able to see why. So I just need to do 4 times 3 times 5, which gives me 60. So there's 60 options possible to pick from this menu. And then final 2, I think. So write the following in standard form. Well, I know standard form needs to be between 0 and 1 and 10. So I need to make this decimal point, make this number between that. So if I put this decimal point here, that's 2 jumps. So it's going to be 5.02 times by 10 to the, well, I've made the number larger, so I need this power to make the number smaller, and we do that with a negative number. So it's going to be 5.02 times 10 to the power of minus 2. You can always check by typing that in your calculator and seeing if you get that out. And then final question. Factorising this. Is this the correct one? Is this the correct one? Or are neither of them right? Well, it's called the difference of 2 squares, this. And that is because we've got a square number taking away a square number, the difference of 2 square numbers. And what we do is we set up our brackets with an x in both sides. And the reason I've got an x in both sides is because the square root of x squared is x. And I want to square root this. That'll give me 4. So 4 is going to go in my brackets. And I have a 0x in the middle of here. So to make this a 0, well, I need 1 positive and 1 negative number. Because when we go back to expand this, well, I'm going to have, let me write it out again. I'm going to have x squared minus 4x plus 4x minus 16. So this equals to 0. So I just get x squared minus 16. So it's going to be this. If I had something like, so I'll just label this as an extra example. If I had something like this, I wouldn't be able to do the same method. Because 16x, we can't square root that because of the x on the end. So the best we can do is to just factorise out the x. And again, we can't do it on this because it's not an x squared. We can't square root just x. It wouldn't work out. We'd have to write it quite weirdly, and it's not worth the effort. So the correct answer for that one would be this. I think your example's a little bit like this, so if you stayed around to listen to this, then you're going to have a nice leg up. And that's it on my part. Alright, thanks for watching.